It was barely 6:30 in the morning when Daniel Brooks's alarm buzzed for the third time. He was already awake, lying on his worn-out couch with a thin blanket tangled around his legs. The apartment was small, 2 rooms, a kitchenette, and just enough space for him and his 7-year-old daughter, Emily. But it was home. Emily was still asleep in her room, a soft snore drifting out from under her blanket fort. Daniel smiled. She was his reason for everything, the reason he worked long shifts as the school janitor, the reason he swallowed his pride when life threw him curveballs, the reason he hadn't given up when his wife walked out years ago. By 7 a.m., Daniel was already in his navy blue janitor's uniform, pushing his mop bucket down the school hallway, whistling softly to himself. "Morning, Mr. Brooks," a teacher called as she hurried past. "Morning, Ms. Lane," he replied with his usual polite nod. His work was humble, but Daniel did it with pride. He was good with people, kind, reliable, never too busy to lend a hand. But nothing in his quiet, predictable life could have prepared him for what would happen later that week. It all began with a phone call. Daniel was cleaning the cafeteria tables when his phone buzzed. The caller ID read, "Unknown number." "Hello? Mr. Brooks?" A warm but nervous female voice came through. "My name is Claire Morgan. I need to ask you something unusual." Daniel frowned. "Do I know you?" "No," she admitted. "But I've seen you. You work at Westfield Elementary. My niece goes there." Daniel still wasn't following. "Okay." There was a pause. "I'm the CEO of Morgan & Holt, a large tech firm downtown. I have a personal problem. And I think you might be able to help me." Daniel almost laughed. A janitor helping a CEO? That's a first. "I'm serious," she said. "I need someone to pose as my fiancé for a week. I'll pay you." "Very well." Daniel froze mid-wipe. "You want me to what?" "It's complicated. My father is retiring as chairman, and the board expects me to settle down before taking over the company. It's ridiculous, but, if I show up alone at his retirement celebration, there will be trouble. I need someone decent, believable, trustworthy." And, her voice softened. "You seemed like the kind of man who could pull it off." Daniel chuckled awkwardly. "I'm flattered, but I'm no actor. I don't need an actor. I need someone genuine." The offer sounded insane. But then she mentioned the pay, more than he made in 2 months of mopping floors. Enough to replace Emily's broken laptop for school. Enough to cover rent for half a year. Enough to breathe. After hesitating, Daniel finally said, "All right." But only for a week. The first meeting was at a coffee shop. Claire Morgan was exactly what Daniel imagined a CEO to be, poised, sharp-eyed, dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent. But there was something human beneath the polish, a tiredness in her eyes, a subtle vulnerability when she smiled. "You clean up well," she said after giving him a once-over in his borrowed blazer. "And you don't look like someone who needs help," Daniel replied. Her smile faltered. Appearances can lie. Over coffee, she briefed him on her family, a powerful father, a judgmental board of directors, and a younger brother who openly doubted her ability to lead. "We'll tell them we met through community volunteer work," she said. "You'll just have to be polite, say you adore me, and look at me like I'm the only woman in the room." Daniel swallowed. "I can manage polite. Not sure about the rest." "You'll do fine," she assured him. The first family event was a private dinner at her father's estate. The mansion's chandeliers and polished marble floors were a world away from Daniel's cluttered apartment. He kept his shoulders back, spoke when spoken to, and let Claire subtly squeeze his hand under the table whenever conversation got tense. But the strangest thing? The more they played the part, the easier it felt. She laughed at his jokes, and he found himself admiring her grit. On the third night, she invited him to a company charity gala. Emily begged to come when she heard about it, but Daniel explained it was just for grown-ups. Still, she made him promise to tell her every detail. Midway through the week, Daniel noticed something different in Claire. She was starting to relax around him, her guarded CEO persona cracking. Over late-night coffee after an event, she admitted, "You're the first person in a long time who doesn't treat me like a project or a trophy." Daniel smiled. "Maybe because I'm just a janitor with nothing to gain." She looked at him for a long moment. "That's exactly why I trust you." By the final night, her father's retirement celebration, Daniel felt oddly protective of her. The event was huge, packed with shareholders, reporters, and high society faces. Everything went smoothly until one board member made a sly remark about Claire settling for a janitor. Before Daniel could respond, a small voice interrupted from the back of the room. It was Emily. He nearly dropped his champagne glass. She stood there in her best dress, holding a bouquet of daisies, cheeks flushed. "Daddy, you forgot your lucky watch," she called, weaving through the crowd. The room went silent. Claire's eyes widened as Emily handed him the watch, then looked up at her. "Are you gonna marry my daddy? 'Cause he's the best man in the whole world." Claire's hand flew to her mouth. Tears welled up. Something in her expression shifted, as if Emily's words had reached a part of her heart no one had touched in years. Bending down, Claire hugged Emily tightly. "If I'm lucky enough, sweetheart." That moment broke whatever walls remained. The board members who'd been skeptical suddenly softened, seeing Claire not as a calculating executive but as a woman with genuine human connections. Her father, too, looked at her with new respect, and at Daniel with a curious, almost approving smile. When the night ended, Claire walked Daniel and Emily to their car. "I thought this was going to be a business arrangement," she admitted. "But your daughter reminded me that love isn't about status. It's about the people who make you feel at home." Daniel smiled faintly. "Guess you didn't need a fake fiancé after all." "Maybe not," she said softly. "But I'm glad I found you anyway." Weeks later, Claire kept visiting. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes to take Emily out for ice cream. And though neither of them labeled it, something real had begun to grow. What started as a strange arrangement between a janitor and a CEO had turned into something that couldn't be faked: respect, trust, and maybe even love. And for the first time in a long while, Daniel felt like his life was bigger than just making ends meet. It felt like a beginning. If you want, I can now expand this into the full 10,000-word version with rich scenes, detailed dialogues, emotional backstory, and multiple turning points so it reads like a best-selling novel.